Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Manny Coates, he's a pretty big name.
He is. He's got a very large Facebook following. He's got a mastermind group. He's got a software as a service product. And that was the subject of the call for the most part. It's called Helium 10. And I got to tell you, I learned a lot. Every time I talk to people like this, it inspires me to want to do what they do. And then I wake up and realize how much I love what I do here at Quiet Light and how much I never, ever want to, worry about the thickness of a corrugated box being imported from China. But Manny basically followed his own program on his own Amazon account, a program called C.P.R. On Helium 10, and went from 0 to about 1,300 sales a day in a fairly short period of time. It's really impressive. I've looked at his numbers. They're more or less huge. And if you can follow this program to get your organic rankings up to the top of Amazon, it's a big win for Amazon business owners.
Are there any specific takeaways people are going to learn from listening to this podcast?
Yeah, a lot of the folks that focus on organic rankings on Amazon don't always seem to follow the terms of services to the letter. They find ways to get organic rankings up to the top by sending outside traffic to Amazon, either using Facebook ads or that nature. And apparently and Manny talks about it in here and he goes through it in the CPR program, but there's a super URL that they can send to their products page on Amazon, and that helps boost the rankings as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with the interview.
Manny Coates, good to see you. Welcome to the Quiet Light Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
How you been, man?
I've been good. I've been busy. It's a crazy time right now in Q4, the end of Q4, and just hustling and getting ready for the new year.
Well, you're crazy. You're doing all sorts of things. Illuminati. You've got your software as a service program. You've got your podcast. I'm not going to do you justice by trying to do the intro and tell everybody all about yourself. So if you wouldn't mind, just give everybody listening a little bit of background on yourself, where you came from, what you're doing today, and what your expertise are.
Sure. I've been in the online or e-commerce business side of things for, since the late 90s, 99, 90, I think it was 99 when I got into this. There's a bunch of things that happened between then and now. We'll fast forward to the Amazon side of things. I started selling on Amazon, doing private label 2 years ago, almost to this date. It was December of 2015. So last year was my first full year selling on Amazon. This will be the second year. I did $1.6 million in sales. I mentioned that because that's one of the first questions people ask me on our podcast. How much did you sell? We did 1.6 million, about 25, 30% margins on everything. This year, we're way beyond that. This month alone for December will probably be more than half of the entire previous year in sales. So the numbers have been spiking up. During all of this, I started a podcast like you've done, and it's been pretty successful. We got a lot of listeners. It's called the AMPM Podcast, and it's all about private label. And then, as you can see on this mic, this is our baby. This is what we really love doing. It's Helium 10. It's the software that makes everything happen for Amazon sellers and for myself, and it's what I use to now launch all the products that we do. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's a lot, man. You're busy. I think you and I first connected on a valuation call probably a year and a half ago, just to get an idea. You did something really smart, which was learn about the valuation process, what builds value in a business, and what the multiples are all about. So that was great.
And I think it's important because I knew that I didn't know actually until talking to you that there's like a window that you need to get to in order to get the valuations that you need, right? And I was like, I want to sell this thing after a year. And you're like, no, hold off. That's not enough time. So that's when you went through the steps. And I know now we're at the 2-year mark. So I'm feeling confident. And I'm going to probably be talking to you here in Q1 to sell my first FBA business.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. It's that magical 24-month mark. People, the buyers love that. And the sellers that are anxious to cash in and use with that working capital for the next project generally don't like it. But good, man. It's great. I'm glad it's going well there. Yeah, I have to say, Manny, the AMPM podcast is the one I get the most comments on from being a guest on there, people calling me and saying, Joe, I heard you on the AMPM podcast. So thank you very much. And then the Illuminati Mastermind is something else you're doing. And we got a chance to go to Cancun together. Quite a trip. Sounds glamorous, but we were all inside for a good 48 hours. And we actually lost power for 3 or 4 hours at that point.
There was one of the power plants out there in the Yucatan or wherever it was, I guess, blew up or something happened, and all the resorts in that area of Mexico just went black. We were all inside this big conference room with no windows. It was pitch black. People are turning on their phones. Cell signals were dead. Everything was dead. But yeah, that was a crazy event. Super awesome. High level. It was a $10,000 per seat type of event. So it was, guys that are already most of the guys are doing 7 figures and beyond that, could afford to come out to this event. And because of that, the networking was amazing. You came out. It's something I didn't mention in the intro, but yeah, the Illuminati Mastermind training is something we do every single month. We have a live mastermind, a webinar that people can jump on, a few hundred people that are members. It's closed at the moment to new members. We'll be reopening it again in the future, but we have a live event that we do typically once a year. At least that's a plan for right now.
Well, I can say from my experience in dealing and working with the people in the Illuminati Mastermind, it's high level sellers for sure. Great ideas, new. I don't want to say tricks, but tactics to get yourself to the top of the rankings on Amazon.
Yeah.
One of them is Helium 10, right? That little thing right there on your microphone.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, Helium 10 is a suite of software tools. So there's a lot of suites of tools out there. I built this initially for myself. I come from a business that did mobile apps. We did hundreds of mobile apps. So we had a team. And as I was doing the podcast and talking about, at the time, the tools had a lot of holes in them. 2 years ago, there wasn't as many as there are now, anywhere even close. And so people wanted to start using them. And so we released them for free initially. I think we had 3 tools. And then as we started adding, now there's over a dozen. We made a membership out of it. And one of the tools in particular, now I'm using to do all my launches and just crushing it. And I can give you some, I don't want to bore you with too many details, but if you want to know, I've got the data and I'd love to talk about it.
We want numbers. Go ahead. Give us the data.
So I've launched 4 new products in Q4. 3 of them were in the last 30 days. And the first 2 that I launched, the idea is to find the exact perfect keyword phrase, the one that gets enough search volume to drive sales, but is very specific to your product. And for me, I was able to get onto page 1, the top of page 1 for both of the products that I launched. And it's expensive to some extent, right? Because you're giving away units in order to get this keyword to rank. And we have this formula called the C.P.R formula, right? C.P.R, like, you're giving somebody a C.P.R. It stands for Cerebro Product Rank. And it's because it uses our tool called Cerebro. It's within Helium 10. And it will tell you the search volume based off of Amazon data of every specific keyword, okay? And it's super accurate. And you'd be surprised what you think gets traffic and what doesn't. And it's updating every single month. So keywords in December, for example, will be way more searched than they would be in January, February for most things. But using that, I was able to find out, we have a formula, the C.P.R formula, that tells you, okay, based on this amount of search volume, this is how many units you need to sell per day through giveaways, through promotions and things. There's different ways that you can do it, and we teach that. And using a special URL, that has the keyword and really helps juice that keyword up to the top of the search results when someone types that in. And you do that for 8 days, okay? And after 8 days, almost, at least in every instance we've seen, with the exception of once, and I'll tell you why that happened, you land on page 1, usually the top of page 1. And to give you an example of what we're doing, the last 3 products that we launched, now with no pay-per-click, we're not doing any promotions or anything, are doing well over 1,000 units per day combined. Okay, we're at I think the last number I looked at was 1,300, 1,400 units per day organically. That's just people searching. So once you get there, and as long as you got a good product, you got good pricing, amazing images, and everybody else on that page that shows up with you below you isn't more alluring than your product, you stick, right? If you don't stick, there's something wrong with your listing. And of course, Helium 10 has a lot of tools to help you with, optimizing your listing. But now we're set up January, February, March. We're going to be at the top of the page, and it's just going to be sales that come in year round. That added, I don't even know the numbers yet because, we're only halfway through the month, but it's going to be adding over $1 million in sales for 2018. Easy.
That's incredible. Most people are looking for, 5 or 10 sales a day, 1,000 a day.
It's crazy
between 3 products. That's incredible. You mentioned a special URL in there. What do you mean by special URL? What's going on there?
So what you want to do, the idea is when someone does a search, well, let me back up. A lot of people are teaching that, hey, you want to get your BSR, ranked down to, the lower the number, the better, right? A BSR of 1 means you're the number 1 selling product in that category. But BSR really doesn't matter, I think. It's not that important in the scheme of things. What you want to focus on is a keyword, okay? So I want to find that specific keyword. If I'm selling a tactical flashlight, right? Then I want that word tactical flashlight. I don't want LED flashlight. I don't want night light. I don't want, those things describe the product, but it's not very, very specific. Tactical flashlight, someone is searching for that. So I'm going to use Cerebro. I'm going to find the exact phrase, a search volume. And then there's columns in there that will tell you, hey, if you want to rank to the top of page 1 for this, we estimate that this is the number of units of your product that you need to give away every day for 8 days in order to get there. So you're going to use this process to do that. And the URL that you just asked about is a storefront URL is what we call it. So essentially, we have it on our blog site at helium10.com/blog. There's a video that actually shows you how to create this 2-step URL, but essentially it goes to your product page, and then you click into the product, and then that puts that keyword phrase for that product in the URL. And when you buy through that, Amazon says, hey, that's cool. Someone just searched for tactical flashlight. They clicked on this product, they bought, and you're now going to move up the ranks for that after, enough people do that. That's kind of the idea. So it's a special URL. It's not just kind of throwing it randomly. It's very similar to running, I would say, a manual campaign on pay-per-click, where you can specifically target a keyword, and every sale you get from that drives you up the ranks for that keyword, except you're driving your own traffic through Facebook or launch services or whatever it is that you want to do. You're not using sponsored ads.
And this is 100% white hat. No gray or black hat here, right?
Well, everything is always, I say almost everything with Amazon right now comes with risk. You're using, you're not directly linking to your product page. You're linking to your catalog page. I've never heard of anybody ever in the 2 years I've been doing this and talking to people. I've never seen anybody have an issue with this. I mean, if you do like a review manipulation, you get people to upvote or to leave reviews for you that are your friend stuff, you're going to get in trouble potentially. For this, I've never seen anything happen. So everything that's taught out there, if it's kind of giving you an advantage, you gotta look at it with clearly. You got to make sure that it's something you want to do. I don't ever see a reason for not doing it. It works really well for us. And again, it's just taking them to that catalog or to your storefront page where they can click in and buy.
It's driving traffic to the Amazon site, which is what Amazon loves. It's going to boost your rankings. And you mentioned Facebook. Are you driving traffic from your outside sources into that particular product page?
Yeah, for that. So the idea is over 8 days, let's just say and I don't know the numbers, I don't have it in front of me, but let's say for tactical flashlight, that keyword phrase, you need to give away, let's just say 800 units. I'm throwing a big number out there. Let's say, because it's Christmas, right? Or let's say 80. That'll be a nice, easy number. 80 units over 8 days. So that's only 10 units per day that people have to buy using the keyword phrase tactical flashlight. So you're going to get the special URL. And then what you're going to do is you're going to provide a coupon code. So the coupon code is going to be 80%, 90% off. So you're not going to typically make money on these giveaways. There is a loss, right? At least for us, we were giving things away for, the coupons were, I believe, 90% off in most cases. So they're getting a $30 product or a $25 product for under $3. So people are clamoring all over it. On Facebook, if you're running these offers, and Facebook has a really cool feature for Amazon sellers where it can give out coupons and things like that and track the claiming percentages and things. When people buy, that's when you get that credit towards that keyword phrase and you move up. But you got to be consistent. If Cerebro's saying you got to give away 10 a day, then you want to make sure you give 10 away a day. You don't want, a lot of people cheap, I guess they're cheap, and they say, well, I want to give a 40% coupon. And then not enough people buy with that. and they'll only do like 3 or 4 a day and they don't hit that 10. So their rank will go up, but it won't go up to page 1. And you and I have had this conversation. If you're not on page 1 for the keyword phrase, you might as well be on page 10, because not that many people click into page 2 and 3 and 4. It's kind of like Google search results.
Yeah, it's really no different. Page 2 of Google is the far, far west or desert. It's long gone. Yeah. Listen, I've used a number of these tools before, just in the process of doing what I do here at Quiet Light, and some are complicated. You know, there's not real great instruction. So if there's somebody that is great at selling off of Amazon and they've got a great product and they want to come to Amazon but don't know how to do it, is Helium 10 going to help them with that process and getting the rankings up there?
I think so. We're in the process right now of redoing all of our videos because we've added so many new features, so many new tools now. There's over a dozen tools in there that we want to make sure that people can follow along. Like, start here, for your keyword research, and then do this, and then do that. You're going to go through. The tools all have a specific purpose, right? So you don't need listing optimization until you've actually created your page. So the tools are. I think they're pretty simple. I know what you're talking about. I've seen some tools where the interface is just not intuitive. It's crazy. There's acronyms all over the place. You don't know what's going on. We tried to avoid that. It's pretty simple. I mean, you for Cerebro, you literally take your competitor's ASIN, stick it in there. It will go and find all the keywords that it feels, is relative to that ASIN, and then show you those results, show you the search volume, and you can put 2 and 2 together. Okay, it still takes a human brain to make sure that you're filtering out bad keywords, because software is software. It's going to find stuff that it thinks is related to your product or this particular ASIN you entered, but it might not be, or it might be a trademark, right? If it's a trademark, you certainly don't want to stick it in your listing. So you have to use your brain and go, okay, yeah, this is really cool. There's hardly anybody that's there's almost no competition on this keyword phrase, but it's because it's trademarked, so I'm not going to use it because I don't want to get in trouble.
Does it help you find products as well? If you're not selling on Amazon yet and you want to expand your current SKU or start launching a product, is Helium for people like that, or is it more for the experienced seller that has existing SKUs?
So yes and no. At the moment right now, it's mainly for people that want to so let me back up. We have 2 parts of the software. We have the Chrome extension, which you install, which is free. And in most of the Helium 10 tools as well at the website, I would say about half of them actually are free as well. The Chrome extension does help you find products. You can go in, it brings up graphs, it shows you the price, the BSR trends, which are important to find out, for example, if something is seasonal, right? Maybe, like, I love jumping into seasonal products. If I can get into an Easter product and crush it for that month, and then jump into a Mother's Day product, and then Halloween, Thanksgiving, all these things, you can make just a crazy amount of money doing that versus trying to find an evergreen product. But these tools will kind of show you that. And then they've got profit calculators that are in there to make sure that you've got the margins that you need. All of that's in there. The keyword side of stuff is, once you've kind of nailed down a product that you want to go after, now you're going to be getting the keywords, because no matter how cool your product is, no matter how great the photography is, if they can't find your product because you haven't chosen the right keywords, you haven't put the right keywords in the right place, you're going to be stuck. And I see this happen all the time. People say, man, I got an amazing product, but I'm not getting any sales. I get like 2 sales a week. And it's just because they haven't done the optimization correctly.
So once you optimize, how do you stay on top of the rankings?
Well, you have to do, I think it's super critical, super important to do a product launch. You have to have a product launch, in my opinion. If you don't do a product launch, think of it this way. If you open up a store, if you've got a new donuts shop that you opened up in the city somewhere, right? And it's not super visible, it's just out there. How do you get people there, right? You got to either advertise, or you got to do something in order to get eyes on your shop. Well, that's what the product launch is doing. You're basically, it's almost, think of it like you've now gone out and given, 1,000 people your donuts in the area and say, hey, try this thing. They're free. You had somebody handing them out. Now everybody wants to come back. And now there's signs everywhere pointing towards your donut shop, saying these guys are awesome. I know that in the real world that would never happen. But on Amazon, that does happen. You get up to the top when someone searches, boom, you're there. Now, of course, it doesn't help you if you're number 1 using this, because the C.P.R method that I've talked about, it's at helium10.com/CPR. There's a video that I did there that explains it in detail if you guys have more questions. But if you get to the top, you're not going to stay there if you have 3 stars, right? If your product is garbage and you've gotten bad reviews, you'll get there, and then within a few days, you'll fall off. So getting there is easy. Staying there is hard. You got to make sure everything is optimized, everything is dialed in, your images, your ratings, your keywords, everything.
And you talk about that a lot on the podcast, right? On the AMPM podcast, you have people talking about all of those different things to help you stay at the top.
Yeah, I mean, the podcast now has over 150 episodes. We have a Facebook group that you're in as well. It's, can I mention it here?
Absolutely.
It's called the FBA High Rollers, guys. So you can go to the ampmpodcast.com. Wait, I'm sorry. Go to ampmpodcast.com/Facebook, and that'll take you there. Or just go to Facebook and type in FBA High Rollers, and you'll see us. I think there's 28,000 Amazon sellers in there. That's a great community. Just if you have a question, you go in there, you ask it, and you got just a ton of people that will help. But yeah, listing optimization is key. There's a lot of factors. Photography, I say, is at the very, very top, outside of keywords. Keywords, if you're not found, doesn't matter. Once they find you, your photography has got to be on point. That thumbnail has to be super good, right? I launched, by the way, let me mention this. Those products that I launched that are doing 1,300 units, or probably more than that today, 1,300 units, 2 reviews each. That's what I started with. So
2 reviews.
That's
wow.
it.
So it's not all about reviews. You know, your buddy Norm Farrar was kind enough to have me on his mastermind group yesterday. And speaking of the photography, one of the attendees said that they got new photography based upon Norm's recommendations, and they went from 10 a day to 100 a day in sales, which is just incredible. And all they did was improve the photography, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Photography is huge. I've had Norm on as well, and he's one of my good buddies. He was actually, I met him at the Illuminati Mastermind Live event, same one you went to.
As did I.
And you look at him and you're like, hey, he looks like a mountain man, but the guy is like, he just crushes it. He's so good. But I was talking to him and he was showing me these before and after photos, and absolutely, you have a product. I mean, if somehow you get them to click into your listing and the image is just okay, they're probably going to click out. If it's super awesome and you've paid good money to have really good photography, it's night and day. I'm not surprised that you can go from 10 sales to 100 sales if the traffic is there. But photography, guys, make sure you get really good photography. You know, spend some money on it. Don't sit there and try to save yourself $500 and do it with your phone, because that $500 in the scheme of things is nothing when you're talking about hundreds of units per day. You know, hopefully, if you're in that market.
Well, if you do it right, you should get there. That's the key thing, right? If you get those photographs there, you do it right, you go from 10 a day to 100 a day. So,
I think most of the people, I would say 99% of Amazon sellers, the majority of them anyways, don't know about product launches. And you're going to have people that say, well, it's not, you shouldn't do that. It's against terms of service or whatever. Almost everything that everybody does is against terms of service these days. If you read the terms of service, if you do anything that's, improving your rank, you're manipulating the rank. So if you are you'll see it on everything. If you keyword stuff your title, which everybody does, you're manipulating the system. If you are, the way you send out emails for follow-ups is in most cases violating terms of service. There's just so much that, Amazon is willing to look past, I think, most things. I've never had any issues with product launches, but if you don't do one, I think you're stuck. You've got to get out there unless you're lucky, honestly.
Are there any other features of Helium that help with that product launch?
So we have a free tool called Scribbles, and have you used Scribbles by chance?
I have not, no.
No, Scribbles is a free tool. It's one of the very first tools I created for myself. And basically you can take all these keywords. Let me back up. Cerebro, by the way, guys, is free to use if all you want is keywords. I think you can get a couple thousand keywords every time you use it, and you can use it twice a day. So 60 times a month, you can use Cerebro. It's a reverse ASIN tool. If you go and use other services, I've heard some of them charge like $19 per use. This is free. If you want the data that goes with it, like search volume and in the C.P.R formulas, the amounts you have to give away, then you would become a paid member. So you can use it for free. You can take all those keywords. You can throw them into Scribbles, which is free, okay? Or into a tool called Frankenstein, which basically, we call it Frankenstein because it's made up of all kinds of different parts, right? Well, that's what your keywords are. Until you clean them up and stuff, they're just a mess. And once you clean them all, put them all together, they become, the awesome Frankenstein beast. But that's a free tool. So you can use Frankenstein to clean all your keywords up, move them, you paste everything into Scribbles. And then what's awesome is you have all your keywords and you start writing your title and your bullet points and your descriptions right there in the fields, right? And as you're writing the words, they start disappearing from your main list that you have over here, right? So your goal is to get this big block of keywords that you pasted in, let's say there's 200 of them, to completely disappear. Once they've disappeared, you know that you've optimized your list and you haven't missed a single keyword. And what the reason I created it is if you go back and you edit a sentence or change something, you delete it. If you delete one of the words, it'll pop back in there. So you never lose it. And this was a mistake I made when I first started out before I had this tool. I don't know if you're like this, but I wrote my title. I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back to it after dinner. And I came back and I read it again. It's kind of like you get a fresh view of it for some reason. Your brain resets. And I'm like, this title sounds a little weird. Let me change it. And I changed it. And I took out a main keyword. And I was planning to put it in a bullet point. And I probably got a phone call or something. Never did it. So one of the main keywords was no longer my listing. It went live. And I didn't realize this for a while, right? It was a long time. And I lost a lot of money because it wasn't in there. One day I was realizing, I'm like, where's this keyword? It's not in my listing. And had I had Scribbles, it would have showed me right away, like, hey, this keyword's not in your listing. So it's a super cool tool. One of the best tools out there, I think, for optimizing, and it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for anything, guys. Just use it. It's been free for forever. It's just really cool.
That's great. Now, I used to spend a ton of money on Google AdWords, and I always used Excel spreadsheets, which is, a recipe for disaster, right? You make a mistake, it goes away. Where the heck do you come up with these names? Scribbles and Frankenstein, Cerebro?
I don't know. Cerebro was, cerebro is a Spanish word for brain. And this is like a keyword brain. So we called it cerebro. Is too hard to say for to Americans, I would imagine. So we're just like Cerebro. And Frankenstein, again, it was just like we thought, hey, keywords by themselves are it's just a big mess if you paste 1,000 keywords in there. And Frankenstein was a monster made up of parts, and individually they meant nothing, but when you put them together, he became this living beast. And that's what you do with your keyword phrases. If you can mix and match and put things together, your keywords become very powerful. So we came up with that, and then I don't know, Scribbles. That's what you do. You scribble keywords.
So
easier to remember.
Someone that's already selling on Amazon can go in and use these free tools, and can they then relaunch their product? If they're already selling on Amazon, can they put it through a launch process?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be doing that actually in January. We've been so busy with Q4 that we've been focusing on the actual product launches of new products, but revitalizing products that you already have, those keyword phrases. We have a tool called Keyword Tracker, which you put in your ASIN, you put in all the keywords that you can get from Cerebro. Like I said, what is that? 2,000 times 2 a day. So that's 4,000 keywords a day that you can run for free. Put those into Keyword Tracker and see where you rank for those keywords for your ASIN. And then once you know where you rank, if you're looking at your product and go, man, you know what? I'm on like page 2 for all my best keywords, or page 10 or whatever. I need to get those up. You can take those keyword phrases, look at the search volumes, make sure that that's what you want, and then run them through the C.P.R. formula, just like we talked about, get those to rank up to the top, and you'll see, your sales taking off again. So even if a product is dead, you can revitalize it. You can use C.P.R. it, you bring it back to life, essentially. There you go. But that's assuming, again, that everything else that we just talked about is in line, that your keywords are good, your photography, your pricing and your reviews, not the number of reviews, but the star rating of the reviews. Because I proved that with even two reviews, you can do well. Now, clearly, if all your competitors have 3,000 reviews and you have 2 reviews, it's going to be tough, right? Unless you've got something special. But within reason,
can you rank, but people won't buy? Is that the situation? You can rank with 2 reviews, but the end user's not going to buy it because there's so few?
They're buying ours. Even today, with 1,300 units a day amongst the 3 brand new products, I think it's been running now for about 2 weeks. They don't have more than 20 or 30 reviews each, and we're competing with guys that have 500, 1,000, 1,500 reviews. So I think if everything else is in line, it's okay. You probably want to get to about 20 reviews. I think once you get to about 20 or above, reviews don't matter as much. I think it's kind of people just assume that, as long as everything else looks really good, you're okay. 2 reviews, you're kind of fighting that uphill battle still, but you can get there. We did it. I see people doing it all the time. And it's not that hard to get reviews, honestly. We could have gotten more than 2. We just kind of wanted to test the formula. But people, again, probably not terms of service compliant, but people that know people and go out there and say, hey, if I can get you this really cool product. Would you be willing to, give us a review? I didn't say that, but everybody does that.
And there are services out there for that. Maybe I'll have them on someday. This is a novice question. When you talk about page rank, looking at your keyword on page 1 or page 2 or page 3, how do you determine what page it's on? Do you just simply go and look on page 1, 2, or 3, or is there a tool that tells you where it is?
That's the keyword tracker tool I was telling you about. You can, I mean, you imagine doing that with 200 keywords, how long it would take you. Just put in your ASIN and paste all the keywords in there that you want. Start tracking it. It'll usually within about 15 minutes, it'll show you your position for all of the keywords, where you are, page 1, what position on, there's usually 16 positions on page 1. So it'll just tell you the position number. It'll also tell you if you've got Amazon's choice badge for specific keywords, because Amazon's choice, you've seen that right next to products. Yeah. If you have that, that's keyword specific. So if you have that for one of the keywords, it'll tell you as well. But that's how you look at it. You see where you're at. Then with Keyword Tracker, you can put notes in there. Like when you're doing some kind of marketing campaign for it or whatever, you can just type that in and say, okay, hey, on December 17th, I started an AdWords campaign or a Facebook campaign, or I did whatever it is that you did. And then you can come back 2 weeks later, look at the graph. And if you see, the graph go boom, like you shot up, right? Where your keyword rank went, is improved. You went from, position 100 to position 2. For that keyword search, you can go back and look at the note and go, oh yeah, it was because I contacted an influencer and they posted this review on their YouTube channel. And you can just kind of track everything through this keyword tracker tool.
Gotcha. So you personally and the people in your mastermind group are working with social media outlets to get more eyeballs on your Amazon page, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't use it as much as I should. We just started using influencers, because I think it's important to I think long term. We do use Facebook for launches. We've used a variety of places. We actually have some new sources we're going to be talking about in January that we've been testing. That's going to be really awesome for people that don't have, let's say, Facebook experience. They don't know how to go in and set up all these accounts and run the advertising. We're going to have something that's a little bit more simple for them that we're going to talk about next month.
Is there a favorite influencer tool or review company or something like that, service that you like that you want to name now? A little plug for somebody? Is it one that you like?
No, I mean, we're experimenting right now. One of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to widen the number of places and services that are out there for people. Cause I've kind of, and people tell me this, like, you always talk about this company right here, this company for this and this company. And there's a lot of good companies out there, a lot of good people, a lot of good services. There's a lot of bad ones. And I try not to mention those. I'd rather not say anything about them at all, just not give them any kind of airtime. But I want to we've been testing and using a lot of stuff, and the stuff that's really good, what we want to do, if they're unknown, we want to partner with them. We want to give them exposure, right? We want to say, hey, you got something really cool. Let's bring it to the masses. There's no reason for us to go and develop a tool if you've already got something that's super awesome. So bring it over and let's partner up. So we just did that with a awesome lady that does trademarks, for example. And you need trademarks on Amazon if you want brand registry and you want to get, the enhanced brand content pages that just crush it. You need those. And a lot of people don't realize you need those. And it takes, half a year or longer to get. And she does it. She's done thousands of these. So we're like, come on over and give people a better deal than they would if they went directly to you, and help them with brand registry after you get your trademark, because people don't know how to do that. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. So we set something up and we're doing that. Right. So that's the kind of thing that we want to do with people and services out there.
Yeah, I saw that one out there. Hey, one last question before we wrap up. We're running short on time, but on Cerebro and the launch. This may be an obvious question, but I mean, you're giving away an awful lot of products. So is it really best suited for people with low cost of goods sold product, or just people that have working capital and it doesn't matter?
I think both. I think if you get into it could be problematic, I guess, if you have very expensive products, right? So if you're selling something on Amazon that costs $400 and your cost on that product is $80, and it's difficult to give stuff away, at a big loss. But if it's $300 or $400 and you can do a coupon code that's, 60% off, and people will buy it because they're like, man, I've never seen it this cheap. You might actually be able to break even, or maybe not lose very much on those units in order to get to the top. And when you're dealing with those super expensive things, sometimes the search volume is much lower because you don't need to sell a lot. When you're making $100 or $200 profit on a product, you don't need to sell a ton of them every day to make a lot of money, right? You can sell 10, 15, 20 a day, and you're doing awesome. So in those scenarios, you have to kind of play. I probably wouldn't be doing 90% off coupons. You wouldn't need to. Competition is going to be a lot lower. You need way less reviews when you're dealing with those expensive products. A lot of those will only have 15 reviews total, right? Because people just don't buy in volume. But if you're dealing with stuff that you're selling for, $30 or less, I would say, if you want to really do well, unfortunately, you're competing against guys that have bigger budgets, and you're going to have to give away maybe a few hundred units. You got to budget in there a few hundred units in order to give away, in order to rank. You only need to rank for one keyword phrase, right? A lot of people say, I want to rank for 10. Well, when you do that, you're multiplying your headaches and the number of units you have to give away by those number of words. If you can just hit one of the main keyword phrases, you'll do well. And one thing that people don't really know, and I think this is important, is every keyword phrase that's in your title, and you should have like your very relevant, super awesome stuff in your title. When you make a sale, regardless of where the sale comes from, okay, every keyword in your title will get a little juice, a little bit from Amazon. So if you sell enough units, all of those keywords and phrases that can be combined in your title will start moving up the ranks. And we were, for example, on the product, we have a third product I mentioned. We failed. It got to page 2 because we launched it in December. It finished in December, and search volume was going up, right? Because people are shopping for the holidays. So the amount that we based our launches on was in November, but now the search volume was much higher in December. So by the time we got there, we were like on page 2. And so we had a relaunch for another 3 days, I believe. And we had to give away like 3 times as many than we did the previous time. And it got us to page 1. And some of the secondary keywords that we were thinking about going after that were really good, which we didn't, by the way, they're now ranked in the top 3 or 4 just because of all the sales coming in on the other one, because those other keywords were in the title. Does that make sense? Kind of rambled on there.
No, it absolutely does. Partway through there, you said a lot of people want to rank for 10 keywords, and that would make me sleep better at night, because if your rankings fell on that main keyword, you still have the other 9. But what you're saying is that when you've got that one main keyword that you do the C.P.R, the launch Cerebro launch on, it's going to pull the other keywords up. Can you do smaller giveaways on those others, or is it really not work that way?
You can. No, we have done that. For Halloween, we did a product and we went after a handful of, or I don't remember how many it was now, but it was a few keyword phrases. It was a product that related to what was it, wigs or Halloween stuff. So and it was for couples, so we wanted to rank for like couples costumes and specific things. That's an example, but things like that. And yeah, we went after, we ranked number 1 for multiple keywords. We did pretty well for that. But we were able to do that because the search volume for all the phrases we were going after were pretty low, relatively low compared to like the one we went after now, which, it's in the 6 figures, the 100,000 plus searches per month, where these other ones were maybe like, 3,000, 5,000. So if you have the budget, and especially if you have a product that costs you, $1 per unit or $2 per unit, then you can really, as long, again, as your listing is really optimized and looks really good and your price is better than everybody else and everything else is in place, you can crush it. You get up to the top and you just kind of ride that money wave. A lot of the big guys, that's what they do. Some of the guys have perpetual giveaways going nonstop forever just to maintain rank.
And does it work with any category, whether it's, shoes or fishing poles or supplements or any kind of product?
I have not tried it in every category. We've had a lot of our members that have used it that are crushing it. We haven't seen any category where it doesn't work. I mean, most of the categories are based off of the same criteria. So if keywords, there are some things that can influence things like your seller feedback. If you've got really poor seller feedback, I don't know, I don't have poor seller feedback, but I've heard that can affect the algorithm a little bit. If somebody else is good and you're bad seller feedback and you guys are doing the exact same thing, they're going to get preferential treatment by Amazon, which makes sense. But yeah, everything else, being even, you should be fine.
Awesome. Well, this is great information. I want everybody to hear one more time. Where do they find the URL? How do they find out about the software?
So a few things. Helium10.com is a website to sign up. And when you sign in, you just create a free account. You'll get the Chrome extension. There'll be a link so that you can start. As you're searching in Amazon, it's going to give you data and stuff that you can use to actually find products and get a lot more information. You can find out, for example, how many units of product your competitors actually have in stock at Amazon. And we just did this, by the way. I think it's kind of cool. We wanted to see where our competitors' stock levels were because we know as we get closer to Christmas, prices tend to go up, right? Because people start renting out. So we just paused one of the products because we knew they're going to run out in the next few days. And then we're going to unpause it, come back in. And then we're going to raise the price and just crush it and probably make twice as much money.
Brilliant. That is brilliant.
So that's a free tool. It's part of the extension. So you can see this.
Yeah.
And then if you want to find out about the launch and how to do the launch, then you'd head to helium10.com/CPR. And I talk about how I did $39,000 in sales off of I think 2 of the products and over the Thanksgiving weekend when we launched it. So, and then we're way beyond that now at 1,300 units plus. I said 1,000 earlier, but I remember seeing a 1,300 unit number. It's just, the numbers are huge.
And for those listening, before we started recording, Manny, you talked about, man, you're really killing it. And then you put that into perspective when you had people in your group that are doing $1 million a day in revenue.
Yeah,
right?
I backed off. I'm like, you said, how are you doing? I'm like, yeah, we're doing good. We're crushing it. And I'm like, wait, hang on. Let me back up. For me, I'm crushing it. But yeah, it's humbling when you're talking to somebody like at our live event, you're sitting there talking to somebody and they're like, oh yeah. I go, what's your best day? What's the best day you've ever had on Amazon? They're like, I don't know, 2.1 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, my first year I did 1.6 million. You did more in a day than I did in a year. So
that's when you get real quiet, ask questions and listen a lot.
Yeah. And some people are going to be happy generating, $50,000 a year or whatever the number is. It's their comfort level, whatever you want to do and what you can afford to float, because cash flow is an issue sometimes. And yeah, there's something for everybody.
Yeah. Well, listen, Manny, I appreciate it. Everybody listening, go to the AMPM podcast. You're going to learn a ton. Check out Illuminati Mastermind. When there's an opening, there's a ton of quality people in there that are just top level sellers. And the Facebook page.
So you can go to AMP. It's called the FBA High Rollers.
FBA High Rollers. Thank you. I forgot it. Lost me right there. But
Yep.
that's a place, again, where people can talk to other people that are indeed high rollers to get great information. And of course, Helium 10, the place to go to see what your competitors are doing and rank those products.
Perfect. Yep. That's us. I hope you guys join. It's going to be, there's no risk, guys. So just do it, come in. And if you don't like it, we'll give you the money back. We just want to make sure that you crush it out there. And you can, if you follow the math. That's all this is. It's math. And the software shows you how to do it. So yeah.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. Appreciate you coming on.
Take care, guys.